I bent my efforts these days to make the folk feel as they belong to a kingdom, sharing a realm that is theirs, so in time to come they'll govern themselves, looking to no throne or lineage. Hello, my name is Kate, and I'm gonna tell you about the second sister, who was the ruler of Silverymoon in D&D. Lady Alustriel Silverhand was a powerful human wizard, a chosen of Mystra, and a ruler of Silverymoon. She was one of the seven sisters and also one of the leaders of League of Silver Marches, participated in Moonstar's organization, and even battled Larloch to prevent his evil schemes. She was also a good friend of Drist and an enemy of Sammaster. But how did she become like that? Let's figure it out. The goddess of magic Mystra was looking for the best breed of human being to make them chosen. She found Dornal, a noble human male and a former harper, who she believed was worthy. The man was in love with half-elf Elui, Lady of the Gate, however couldn't get the woman. Mystra helped him by temporarily merging with Elui with her permission. They wed in 760 in the year of drifting stars. Alustriel was born 2 years later in 762. Based on the information Ed Greenwood shared about Ilu, she was not a mere sorcerer. She was a former adventurer venturing from the Swords Coast to the Southwest North, where she met Dornal Silverhand and after a while moved with him to his Silverhand Tower. Alustriel had 6 other sisters, among which she was closest with Lyral and Silun. From childhood, Alustriel was intelligent and charismatic, always full of compassion and hope. Her beauty was astounding, which everybody noticed from the first glance. Sparkling eyes, warm face, and silver hair only highlighted it. There is a theory that Mystra knew about coming time of troubles, or at least felt it. So she decided to create perfect vessels with her powers among most capable mortals. To be honest, diversifying and delegating power to mortals to do all the dirty work to come was a quite clever idea. The early years of Alustriel were traumatic, influencing a cheerful child greatly. On one of the evenings in 767, her father had a walk with Elui and learned the truth about her that she shared a body with otherworldly being. In panic and rage, he slew his wife, cutting her head off. Dornal ran away, leaving all his daughters behind. Mystra took Silun and Alustriel to Harper Tamator the Old. She lied to him, saying they were actually his nieces. Tamator the Old, who had recently lost all of his family in battle with evil archmage Galtant, gladly believed in it and took both in. Not knowing of the sisters' legacy, Tamator tried to teach them archery and ranger skills, yet Alustriel rejected the studies. She desired to study the art. However, she couldn't cast a single spell in her childhood, spending several years without any purpose at foster home. When she became a young woman, the magical talents finally showed up. She managed to cast a defensive spell showing off 2 aggressive advances of a young man and was immediately assigned to a court harper mage as apprentice. It is not known how much time she spent studying the basics of magics. Being blessed by Mystra, she was technically immortal, and so she had quite a lot of time to practice. Years passed, and she left home, choosing the adventuring style of life. Her childhood told her that peace, harmony, and hope are the main 3 pillars that she should promote and cling to. In 815, she traveled to Silverymoon, taking the name Aludualen. With the first day of her entrance to the city, everyone was fascinated with her skills in the arts. The word spread quickly and reached High Mage Amara Narimlur and Linasha, who invited Alustriel in. In 821, Alustriel makes the first major expansion of Silver's Lady Library and Ladies' College. This is the first open school for mages in Silverymoon that doesn't force students in apprenticeship with their teachers. The college takes payment in the form of service to defend the city of equal time the mage studied in it. 20 years later, in 843, Alustriel, Amara and Linasha, along with a couple of more wizards, created Silverymoon famous moonbridge and created a mythal, Wards of Silverymoon. The mythal required quite a lot of power and wealth to be created. Apart from vanguard spells, which were always ready to use by the caster attuned to it, Silverymoon Wards also prevented any spells that cause instant death, teleportation, evil spells, evocation spells or summoning spells. Some of the spells were constantly active, and the cost of all components reached 353,000 gold. Yet, Alustriel and the others decided to extend the duration of the wars for over 1,000 years. That's why the cost of raising the mythal reached about 2 million gold. After 15 years in 857, Alustriel stepped in as a High Mage of Silverymoon instead of Amara, who voluntarily retired. Alustriel continued guiding the city for 4 years until one day, in 861, she met another chosen of Mystra, a man named Sammaster. He was a well-witted, handsome, and extremely well-versed in magical arts. They became close, yet their relationship was not long-lasting. Mad Sammaster was obsessed with necromancy and madly loved Mystra. He wanted to understand her secrets through dominating and analyzing Alustriel as another chosen. Alustriel ended their relationship 3 years later in 864, pushing Sammaster away. She justly ruled the city, supporting growth of culture and glory. Her days in Silverymoon were full of duties. As it is said, she rises at dawn to eat breakfast and meet with such trusted advisors as Star and Sunderspell Hornblade, the local herald Darkstag, Flink, the doppelganger, and other agents. Flink and Alustriel are firm friends and were once more intimate than that. Some say Alustriel bore a child from this alliance. The advisory part occupies her late morning and the afternoon. After that, Alustriel prefers to take her lunch in the company of elves, harpers, or close friends, away from the palace if it's possible. After lunch, Alustriel usually has more private held meetings until afternoon, which she spends alone memorizing spells and experimenting with magics in her palace. The session always ends up with a bath, where she usually invites friends for a chat and abstain from work activities. She believed that bath is not a place for politics or business dealings. After, Alustriel retires to chambers where she takes some time to prepare for an evening court that is usually planned to occur when most of the merchants of the city are winding up their business for the day and sun lowers. During the court, Alustriel proclaims new laws and announcements, receives delegation and hears complaints and discussions. The evening court also is supported by the feast in the high hall of the palace, which takes approximately 2 hours. Being fair, Alustriel accustomed the tradition of Lucky Six, which allowed any random 6 passing by commoners to be picked and offered to attend the feast as well. Apart from palace diplomacy and political activities, Alustriel always watched over the city and appeared personally if something serious was happening, such as large fires. We can assume that's how Sammaster lured her out of the city in 875 and got her by surprise. The sisters and other trusted chosen always had private true names which only their circle knew. With these true names they could communicate in case of life-threatening situations. Alustriel's true name was Laertha. She called for her sister Lyral and Calben Blackstaff for help, and together they were able to defeat Sammaster and save Alustriel from death. A year later, in 876, Alustriel left Silverymoon, taking Linasha and apprentices to the Outer Plains to battle a Tanari lord who wanted to conquer the north, leaving a council behind to pick her successor. However, Lashtor, local militaristic leader, seized the city. He didn't have much time to do the harm to it, yet he burnt Lady's library with lots of rare books and scrolls. Lashtor was defeated by Tanalantara Mythal, Alustriel's apprentice, who took the mantle of High Mage, who ruled the city till 883. After that title was assumed by Tanisil the Cloaked. A few decades later, in 900 DR, during the reign of Tanisil the Cloaked, the library was rebuilt. The lady's power has touched me. Until it fades, I can see thy mind. Ye have done well, and it thy wisdom more than power of art that will be needed in the days ahead. Years passed, while Alustriel watched her beloved city from afar. Yet, in 1235, after another transition of High Mage mantle to the successor, Shalos Adamfrost had exploited the situation in Silverymoon and proclaimed himself High Mage, while it was besieged by the Orc army Black Horde. Alustriel had to reappear on a public arena, calling for her sister Storm to help. In the raging battle, she personally killed Adamfrost in a duel, and after that, people chose her to become High Mage again, yet She starts to rule with her true name now. Fun fact about Silverymoon. After 30 years, in 1263, a flock of trissims flew into the city and roosted on their rooftops, making the city famous for it ever since. In 1272, Xantrim wizards and priests of Bane and Mirkul raised an army of undead, orcs and other creatures to assault the city, but were repelled by the city and its mythal powers. There is a large gap in the timeline here. However, we can assume that Alustriel continued governing the city, strengthening its borders and also building up alliances around it. It is also known that 100 years later, in 1351, she supported the expedition to the Nameless Dungeon, where she wanted to find elven treasures long lost. Another 4 years later, in 1355, she didn't let Drizzt into the city when he was searching for Mithril with his companions, fearing that appearance of the drow would harm the relationship with the closest neighboring city of Nesme. Later next year, in 1356, Alustriel received the news that Silvermoon of Silver was dead. The Chosen of Mystra grieved for over a year upon the tragedy. In 1357, after the discovery of Mithril, the fame of Bruenor Battlehammer and Drizzt Do'Urden reached all corners of Silver Marches, and Alustriel decided to forge an alliance with newly formed Kingdom of Dwarves, helping them to fend off drow from Menzoberranzan. She also invited Drizzt to visit the city, and he accepted. The time passed, yet the old enemies never disappeared. In 1361, Cult of the Dragon sent archmages with Dracolish to the walls of the city to draw Alustriel out. The battle would have been lost if not for Kelben Blackstaff and Larloch Silverhand, who helped Alustriel to defeat the enemy again. She strengthened the defenses of the city, ensuring people's safety, and then stepped down again as a High Mage, giving the leadership to Tyrant Sunderspell in 1369. But she did it on purpose. The cities of Silver Marches decided to create a defensive collective to defend against other enemies and monsters, and chose Alustriel to be their leader. She took the role and renamed the collective to Luruar in 1371. Meanwhile, Kelben Aronson, the Blackstaff of Waterdeep, decides to create the Moonstars in 1370, the organization whose purpose would be fighting evil. It is not known whether Alustriel joined Moonstars or not, or how she spent the Spell Plague event. Most believe that she was dead, yet she survived. It is said that her son Methramar Arisume now rules the city and continues her legacy. I would like to show you guys the most accurate family tree I could gather. Alustriel possessed 6 sisters, all of which came from Dornall and Ilu, yet Alustriel had many children herself too. It is said most of those were half-elves with surname Irisum. Those were Endelver, Boesild, Dolthawin, Elintalar, Gaelris, Enthilin, Lilintar, Methramar, Nirelond, Ryaerilar, Tartilmore, and Uindeld. She had also confirmed daughters, yet Ed Greenwood said that they were not named and therefore not appeared in the lore. However, having already 12 children, it's a lot of labor. Luckily, she was on Mystra vitamins. Sorry, my old friend and mentor. We didn't want to do this. We never wanted to have to do anything like this to you. Yes, do it we must. Finish it loose. Finish him now before we weaken and change our minds.
I think not.
Oh, and who are you?
Truly, Chosen have become lesser beings than they were in my day. I am Larloch, the first Chosen of Mystriel and her herald. Some call me the Shadow King. You may call me Oblivion.
Alustriel reappeared a decade later as an ally of the Moonstars with her sister Alustriel Silverhand in 1487. They aimed to destroy the wards of Candlekeep so that no one could use them to control the weave of Mystra. Yet, Larloch the Shadow King outplayed them, fooling Elminster in helping him to absorb the ward's energies. However, he was later stopped by the combined powers of the Chosen Ones. Is she a strong character? From the lore perspective, she is a Chosen of Mystra, a wise immortal being capable of controlling silverfire, and if met in Silverymoon, which can be considered her lair, she is pretty deadly. Yet, outside it, some powerful archmages still can surprise her. From a technical perspective, based on the old editions of D&D, she is an archmage of challenge rating 28 with more than 200 HP and chosen immunities which grant immunities to certain spells. She can also control silverfire and possess lots of spell slots, and also she can call for her sisters when in grave danger. And now a bit of DM tips on how to play her. You would probably never fight her with the party, unless your party is a bunch of evil guys, murder hobos, chosen slayers, you never know. Always help the party either through Alustriel followers or introducing herself if the party of the high level. Engaging party on a quest of defeating Cult of the Dragon might be a good plot hook. Alustriel favors the acts of kindness and thoughtfulness, so reward your players if they are ready for the problems and ready to deal with them rather than whining about them and avoid them. Yet, she dislikes the injustice and cruelty and misuse of magic. And that's all on one of the sisters, and we will probably see her again since she is an immortal being and a chosen of Mystra. And if you like the lore, please press like and subscribe button and tell me in the comments below who else you would like to hear about. And see you next time.